What is up, YouTube? It's Courtside Reports, and I'm back for another video. This video is going to be about Ryan Hollins and his path to the NBA and his NBA stats. I'm also going to be talking about his analytics on First Take and some of the crazy things he said. So yeah, if you've been watching First Take recently, you've noticed Ryan Hollins. He said some crazy things on the show. I'll play some of it now. Prepare to be amazed.
Not just did he not make it, he grossly underachieved. Grossly.
XFactor in the West.
Hands down, Russell Westbrook. Why do I say that? Russell Westbrook has the talent to win the NBA championship. He has the talent to beat the Golden State Warriors.
We might have massive disagreement. You believe that Russ is such an X factor, such an X factor, that his performance can carry the Thunder over the Warriors.
Oh, he said it again.
Absolutely.
So, you've heard that. So you got a good idea of how Ryan Hollins feels about the NBA. He's got some crazy takes. We'll go back to this, but I just wanted you guys to hear this first so you get a good understanding of how he feels about the NBA. Now, let's go to his college career. I want to start off with his college career because I want to get an accurate depiction of him as a player, and it's hard to do that just by looking at his seasons in the NBA. So I'm getting my stats from sportsreference.com. Shout out to them. So, in college, he was 7 feet tall and 230 pounds. He went to school at UCLA, and he played there for 4 years, starting off in 2002 and ending in 2006. He played almost every game for the team. In his freshman year, he started about half the games and sort of was a bench player for the other half. In his freshman year, he put up 4.3 points per game, almost a block per game, and 3.5 rebounds per game. Not bad for a freshman year in college. For his sophomore year in college, he started around the same amount of games, but his points per game went up. His points per game went up to 6.5 points per game, and he averaged a block per game with 4.3 rebounds per game. This is obvious improvement. Then came his junior season, where he only started 6 games, but he played 28, so he was very valuable coming off the bench. He played around 16 minutes per game that year, and put up 4.5 points per game, 0.8 blocks per game, and 3.4 rebounds per game. I don't see this season as improvement, but he did go to the bench and he continued to play decently well, so I guess it's a plus. Now his senior season, 2005, he needed to turn up. He put up 7 points per game, which was the highest in his college career, averaged 0.9 blocks per game, and he got 4.8 rebounds per game. Then he declared for the 2006 NBA draft. He was picked 50th in the second round by the Charlotte Hornets. He was 22 at the time. Back then, the Hornets were referred to as the Bobcats because they hadn't changed their name yet. I don't know what Charlotte was expecting out of him. Maybe a good player off the bench. But they were able to get a 33-49 record, which isn't terrible, but it's definitely not good. They had players like Emeka Okafor and Raymond Felton on their team, but they obviously needed to make some improvements. They also had Gerald Wallace, and because of this, Ryan Hollins didn't really get that many minutes. He only played in 27 games and averaged 6.9 minutes per game. He only got 2.4 points per game and 1 rebound per game. In the 2007 season, he stuck with Charlotte because of his contract, and he played power forward for them. He played a total of 60 games and started in one of the games, but the stats were more of the same for him. He didn't put up the defensive numbers that Charlotte expected either. In 2008, the Bobcats re-signed him on the qualifying offer. And then, finally, on January 16th, 2009, Ryan Hollins was traded to the Dallas Mavericks. It wasn't that big of a trade, but I feel like he had his best years with the Mavericks. The Mavericks had a decent season, but he didn't really make the jump that they expected. So, at the end of the year, they let him walk. He signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves after this. He signed a 3-year, $7 million deal. And since he was a restricted free agent, the Mavericks had the option to match the deal. They did not. Minnesota didn't really have high expectations for Ryan, but they thought he would be a decent asset. He put up his best points per game of his entire career, which was 6.1. He also put up 2.8 rebounds per game and averaged half a block per game. But Minnesota wanted to see how much they could get for him coming off his best season. In the offseason of 2010, Ryan Hollins was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Delonte West. In Cleveland, he really started to become a statement dunker. He averaged 5.3 points per game, with 0.6 blocks per game and 2.7 rebounds per game. He played for the Cavs until 2012, where he was released by the Cavs. Then, the Boston Celtics decided to take a chance on him. He only played 15 games in the regular season. He was a very key piece in the Celtics playoff run. After his 1 year with Boston, Boston didn't really feel like re-signing him. So, he was signed by the Clippers on a 1-year deal, and he re-signed the next offseason. His scoring was still relatively low, with around 3 points per game, but he was sort of a valuable piece off the bench. He played with the Clippers for only 2 seasons. Now, we're in the 2014 offseason, where Ryan Hollins is 30 years old. He signed a deal with the Sacramento Kings for 1 season. His stats were more of the same, around 3 points per game, coming off the bench, and getting around 2 rebounds per game. In 2015, he signed with the Memphis Grizzlies, but he was waived by the Grizzlies after only playing a couple preseason games. That's tough to hear. The Wizards saw some hope in Ryan Hollins. He was now 31 years old, but they signed him and they waived him after 5 games. The Grizzlies decided that, hey, we might as well take a chance on this guy again. We need a backup big man, so they signed him again. But only a couple days later, in January, he was waived by the Grizzlies. He only played 4 games for the team. He signed 2 10-day contracts with the Grizzlies. Then finally, in early March of the 2016 season, he signed for the rest of the season with the team. But then, in April, he was waived by the Grizzlies again. Then, after this experience, Ryan decided to go play Euroball, and then he finally retired in 2017. Overall, in his total career, he played 518 NBA games, averaging 3.7 points per game and 2.2 rebounds per game. For being a 50th pick, he actually had some really good highlights, and he had a couple really key games that helped his team in the playoffs. It was really tough to beat the Spurs, and Ryan Hollins was able to help the Mavericks do that. For 1 game, they still lost the series in 5 games, but he actually played really well, and he was blocking shots and scoring. That about wraps it up. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to make a part 2 analyzing some of the crazy things he said on First Take. Have a great day. Make sure to like and subscribe.